Hasan is dangerous to them because he runs the middle of the line gamut. He represents anti-Zionism without anti-Semitism. Zionists don't benefit from that. Zionists benefit from anti-Semitism. They don't want principled anti-Zionism. Hasan Piker is under attack. Not the first time. This time, Israel is fighting over a Senate seat. That's the line in the sand that we're drawing. Jonathan Greenblatt, another one of the most evil people alive. Hasan Piker has a long track record of commending and excusing terrorism. He routinely uses his platform to spread anti-Jewish tropes, amplifying propaganda from designated terrorist groups, and promote toxic anti-Zionism. Despite a backdrop of intensifying anti-Semitism, Piker does all this not only unapologetically but proudly. Dr. Abdul al-Sayed's decision to host campaign rallies with Piker, that's what this is about, by the way, it's about a Senate race, is not just alarming, it's absolutely shocking. It reflects a broader trend, the dangerous normalization of anti-Semitism in our politics. This is happening in Michigan, where Temple Israel was targeted in a violent anti-Semitic attack less than 2 weeks ago, making it even more egregious. If the attacker had succeeded, it could have been the worst mass killing of children in U.S. history. What the fuck is this? If they had succeeded, it could have been, well, if the school shooter had a thermonuclear weapon instead of a Glock 19, it could have been the largest mass casualty event in American history. Yeah, I guess that's true. If there's a coordinated attack right now on Hasan Piker in an effort to use him as a wedge against Abdul al-Sayed, a Michigan senatorial candidate who we like very much and support. The AIPAC and everyone affiliated with them, which is basically like the entire U.S. government and all the media, are going after Hasan and claiming that Abdul, who is, you know, I mean, you can guess from his name, right? He's Muslim, right? I mean, he's not agnostic. You can't be agnostic and run for government, you know? Curiously, the Zionists, who are definitely motivated by a desire to protect Jewish people and not just like right-wing ethno-centrist grievances, are going after another Muslim guy. ADL Michigan is deeply troubled by reports that Dr. Abdul el-Sayed and other public officials plan to appear alongside Hasan Piker at upcoming rallies at the University of Michigan and Michigan State University. In the aftermath of the recent attack on the Jewish community in West Bloomfield, quote, a guy with a Muslim name, Vosh. You said it, not me. I didn't say that. Well, I said that like 2 days ago, but I didn't say that today. What do you mean not being able to be agnostic and run? In America, if you are atheist or agnostic and you run for public office, they shoot you. Not a joke. They're really popping off with this one. Jewish student group, quote, deeply troubled by upcoming campus visit by Hasan Piker. Listen, I have two things I want to say about this really quickly, just so we can lay our positions out. First of all, Hasan Piker has not done anything to demonstrate to me that he's an anti-Semite. So, you know, that one's pretty obvious. For two, it should be understood that the unambiguous position of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party right now is that they expect their voters to choose between the feelings of Jewish people and the future of the United States. This is a fact. There is no room for argument on this. The argument, over and over and over again, is that America is destined to be sent into a spiraling decline, a global decline, mind you, not just the United States, the world. All of this predicated on our unwavering support for Israel. And if you object to this, if you think perhaps that the world, or America specifically, should be good, or even that Jewish people in America should be safe, you are an anti-Semite. The position of the Democratic Party, in essence, is that it is morally good to be anti-Semitic. I reject this premise, and so does Hasan. But I think a lot of people don't understand that people like Hasan and myself are some of the only reasons anti-Semitism has not skyrocketed far more than it already has. Zionists benefit from anti-Semitism because it justifies their arguments in the same way that white nationalists fucking love it when non-white people are like racist to white people. They love that shit. They run it head to bottom, headline. They love it. They love it. They love it. They love it. They love it more than anything else. There's nothing that gets a white supremacist giddier than seeing a black celebrity say something that can be interpreted as anti-white racism, because they'll talk about it for years. Likewise, Zionists love anti-Semitism. They adore it. And when there is none, they will look for it. And they will invent it. The position of the Democratic Party is that you should value... It seems to me like their argument is, like by and large, that it is morally good to be anti-Semitic. Because the alternative to anti-Semitism, it seems, would be an unfaltering, zealous devotion to Israel, which then plummets the world into decline. That's their argument. I don't think it's a juxtaposition that's needs to be kept, you know? I think it's actually quite anti-Semitic to be a Zionist. Nice drawings, though. I mean, the Dems are still insanely Zionist. I don't know why you're phrasing that as though I disagree. I just said that. Yeah. No, Dems are very much insanely Zionist. Yeah, Bashir, Gavin Newsom just embarrassingly backtracked off his position that Israel's an apartheid state. Some Jewish community groups reached out to him, and afterwards he was like, no, I love Israel. I revere Israel. I'm walking back my statements. Yeah, we know. We know who's calling the shots. Thank you. In a statement to the state news on behalf of MSU Hillel, vice president of the Jewish group union, Skylar Elbinger possibly, wrote that the presence of Hasan Piker, whom the group called a known anti-Semite, yeah, I've never seen him say anything anti-Semitic. I would need somebody to bring evidence of this to me, at the rally would create a hostile environment for Jewish students on campus by threatening their security and belonging. At a time when Jewish students are experiencing heightened fear and vulnerability, it's always about their feelings. It's always their feelings, At least the white genocide people pretend that they're under physical threat, like the hordes of black and brown people coming into America are going to like stomp out the life of all white people. But with Jewish groups, it's always like, well, our feelings would be hurt if you did this. And that's the violence, especially in the wake of the recent attack on Temple Israel in West Bloomfield. Shouldn't have called it Israel. This choice is especially concerning, the statement read. The local pushback follows a wave of scrutiny on the El Sayed campaign by centrist Democrats after the campaign announced Tuesday that Piker would be a speaker on his campus tour, which includes the University of Michigan. Anyone eager to campaign with Hasan Piker is, at best, comfortable overlooking his anti-Semitic and anti-American extremism, and at worst, endorsing it. Jonathan Cohen, president of the centrist think tank Third Way, backed by Epstein types, by the way. Third Way, bunch of Epstein affiliates funding it. Third Way, they're like Zionist centrist Democrats. Their main problem with the Democrats is that they're too far left. By the way, the Third Way group, completely irrelevant in real life. Nobody likes them, nobody cares about them. But they've got a bunch of money behind them, so media takes them seriously. Coordinated attack by the Zionist deep state on Abdul al-Sayed via Hasan. Gotcha. I really do mean it about people like myself and Hasan, not necessarily him and I specifically, but people like us being bulwarks against anti-Semitism. Because the Democratic Party right now is like a machine for groypers. The entire right, everyone under 35 who's right of center, is some form of neo-Nazi, basically. And with basically no exceptions. And on the Democratic Party, I'm really sorry, but again, and I've said this before, it is very obvious that Zionists control the United States to the detriment of the United States. It's not even like arguable. And everyone can see it. And a lot of Democrats don't like it. And it is really difficult to explain properly and non-anti-Semitically unless you have like a good political education. And liberals are not willing to provide that political education either because they can't or because doing so would like align you against the Zionists, which they don't want, It's a very, very, very dangerous place to be in. The person running against Abdul al-Sayed, Mallory McMorrow, recently had a leaked audio suggests McMorrow has outstanding AIPAC position paper, but voters deserve clarity. Yeah, AIPAC loves her, even though she's officially endorsed by J Street. J Street and AIPAC are functionally the same group. There's no difference. Oh, the one where she cried? No. That was a different one. But she's backed. Like J Street has been positioned as the liberal alternative to AIPAC, which is funded January 6th supporting Republicans, but AIPAC supports her. So, again, J Street isn't real. It's just AIPAC. There's no such thing as liberal Zionism. It's an oxymoron. There's no version of Zionism that doesn't just run back to AIPAC. It's always the same deal. Well, I really, 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 really hope that we get a retraction of the endorsement that Warren had for her. Warren, right? Yeah, McMorrow called Hasan similar to Nick Fuentes, which is an insane, genuinely an insane thing to say. And by the way, also, deeply anti-Semitic. The idea that communists and Nazis are the same is a Nazi talking point. Hitler was a socialist. The blurring of lines between far right and far left, not that I think that they're really comparable in this case, because I think Hasan is more legitimately to the left than Fuentes is to the right, considering Fuentes is now campaigning on Democrats winning in 28. But this is an insane thing to say. Here's to hoping the anti-Semitic messaging isn't seeping into the center-left educated types, I guess. The center-left educated types are fucking irrelevant. They represent a tiny constituency in America. Center-left educated types, you mean the consultancy class? These are people with a massively disproportionate amount of power relative to how many people in the electorate actually agree with them. They're like bug people freaks. They're like 0.1% of the population, and nobody likes them. They're insufferable. Whether or not they dive into anti-Semitism is irrelevant. What we need is a version of left populism in this country that's not built around anti-Semitism, but rather anti-Zionism. And unfortunately, the Democrats are insistent that there is no difference between the two. And if you were to take the Democrats at their word, truly to listen to them and take everything they said for granted and to understand it, and the implied meanings behind it, you would essentially go, oh, so I should be watching Nick Fuentes. The Democrats are telling me in no ambiguous terms that their future for the country is one ruled by Zionists. Like, they are no different to the Republicans. They both offer the exact same future, which is infinite deference to this group of people who hate us, and by us, I mean America, by the way, because I do believe that, who they're all Ben Shapiro types, essentially. Like, everything must be seated at the altar to Israel. So I guess you might as well like Nick Fuentes, you know? Hasan is dangerous to them because he runs the middle of the line gamut. He represents anti-Zionism without anti-Semitism. Zionists don't benefit from that. Zionists benefit from anti-Semitism. They don't want principled anti-Zionism. McMorrow's finance chair, co-chair, wishing her Nazi father a happy Veterans Day. I saw this. This is the funniest thing I'd ever seen in my life. Mallory McMorrow, the person who's like leading the charge against Hasan Piker for being an anti-Semite right now, her campaign finance co-chair with this phenomenal post from 2024. Happy Veterans Day to my family and friends who served. Without you, America would not be here today. Interesting story. I do not talk about my grandfather very much. Albert Newman was on the German side in World War I and World War II. He escaped to Brazil with my father after Germany lost to World War II, and then they made their way to Detroit where they spoke no English and worked their way up to provide a stable life for their family. My grandfather was one of my best friends. He was one of the first people in my life that accepted me as gay when I was nervous and scared. I'll never forget him embracing me and loving me for who I am. His story is a true testament that people can change and love indeed can win. Unbelievable. Why would you tweet that? I genuinely, I don't understand what axis of, no pun intended, of political positions you need to occupy in order to tweet this. It is unbelievable. A happy Veterans Day to my Wehrmacht grandfather who escaped due punishment for his war crimes and immigrated to America, where he became the first person to accept me coming out as gay. Unbelievable. It reads like a fucking Cumtown bit. Oh my God. Facebook post. Sorry, everything's a tweet to me. Yeah. Emma Vigeland tweet? Wait, what did Emma say? Mallory McCuomo? I get it. Did she sexually harass over dozen staffers? Stacey K, every Zionist is a rapist. Every Zionist is pro-rape. If you are a Zionist, and I'm not joking, if you're like, one of the most distinguished characteristics of Israel is their love of rape. It's a national pastime. They riot for it, you know? It's like sports to them. If you are pro-Zionist, you are pro-rape. Iran doing the Lord's work. That is true, yeah. Most Jewish voters oppose Mamdani but remain divided on an alternative. Yeesh. I'm sorry, man, but you guys are getting left behind. You need to join the fucking coalition. Listen, okay, if leaving aside all of the woke preferential politics bullshit, at the end of the day, right now, Jews are just a demographic who is shifting, like, very rapidly to the right, okay? You need to cut that the fuck out, because if you leave the coalition, if you're like, I'm willing to sacrifice liberal democracy and progressivism if it means keeping my ethno-state, you'll never guess which group benefits from liberal democracy and progressivism. You'll never guess which group historically has been hurt the most by a lack of liberal democracy and progressivism. I'm just saying, man, all right? You need to get the fuck with the party, okay? Cut it out with the goddamn Zionist ethno-state bullshit. Do they really think there's space in the right for them? Yeah, if you think the right's going to accept you, go take a look at the YouTube comments under any Ben Shapiro video where he talks positively about Israel. Go look to your future. Oh, have a great time. No, go right ahead. Yeah. Go, have fun. Go take a look at what he's up to, you know? He's doing fucking minstrelry for the benefit of an increasingly, like, shrinking conservative audience who are more interested in calling him slurs than engaging with his admittedly very bad talking points, okay? You need to get on board with Mamdani, okay? The Mamdani hype train. He's not said or done a single goddamn anti-Semitic thing. Get over yourself. Meanwhile, the Zionist coalition says anti-Muslim, Islamophobic shit like every goddamn day. Every day. They're doing it right now with Abdul Sayed. Oh, a Muslim guy's running? He must be an anti-Semite. Really? Says who? Sounds to me like you think he might have a reason to be. Here's Abdul on breaking points.
Oh, and the point that you made in the first place is that we're talking about somebody whose job it is to talk to groups of people that you would think people running for public office would want to be talking to. They're the folks I want to be talking to. And a big frustration that we've often had is that too often the people who should be voting for Democrats are not showing up to elections at all. And the question is, where are we missing them? Why are we not able to move our message? Well, I think part of it is that too many politicians.
What's a crazy thing to me especially is that they're doing this whole like super duper Zionist pro-Israel Abdul is an anti-Semite bit in Michigan, arguably the state most affected by its Arab swing vote. It's a purple state with a strong Arab swing vote. This is really the state we're pulling this shit over for a fucking Senate seat?
politicians don't have a message that these folks care about because they are on the wrong side of locking these same folks out. And on the other, it's that we're not actually going to the places that these folks are. I mean, we remember the whole 2024 discourse about whether or not the vice president should have gone on Rogan. So my question is, what is wrong with going and talking to a group of people who have been let down by our politics, cast aside by politicians who aren't talking to the issues that they're talking to? And I'll just say this, the logic of this is kind of crazy given the fact that Hasan was invited to stream live from the DNC in 2024. And so I'm only doing what Vice President Harris did in the first place. I think the question then I would ask any of the folks who are so frustrated about this is, why wasn't there so much more outrage when she did it?
Talking to any Zionist Democrat, no matter how liberal they may pretend to be, is more embarrassing and damning for your campaign than speaking to Hasan Piker. Hasan Piker's positions on Israel are, and again, this is objective, more in line with the Democratic constituency than any liberal Zionist. Hasan's positions on Israel, as radical as people may say Hasan is, are objectively closer to the median than people like McMorrow. The AIPAC would not endorse the average Democrat voter for their positions on Israel.
Yeah, until they kicked him out, I think the third or fourth day, but that's a different story. There were some quotes here from Mallory McMorrow, who's running against you, about Hasan. To quote this from the Jewish Insider, she says, "It is somebody who says extremely offensive things in order to generate clicks, views, and followers, which is not entirely different from somebody like Nick Fuentes. That is not somebody you should be campaigning with at a moment when there's clearly a lot of pain and trauma across our state. How do you bring everybody together when there are difficult conversations where there aren't easy answers?" I'll leave that question to you, Abdul.
I'm trying to have conversations with everybody. And I agree that there's a lot of pain and trauma across our state. There has been so much pain and trauma across our state. That's why I've always tried to name that pain and trauma from the jump. You go back a couple of years, we have watched as Israel has decimated Gaza in a genocide. And it took 2 years for my opponent to call it what it was, a genocide. So if we want to be in the business of understanding pain and trauma, I think it's important for us to name pain and trauma.
Woke 1.0 type weaponization of fragility. That's because Woke 1.0 was invented by Hillary Clinton to beat Bernie Sanders. And likewise, it is the preferred weapon of Zionists. They all talk like that. Every Zionist is the most performatively fragile crybaby on earth. They'll ruin your life. They'll get you fired from your job. They'll tell you that you're a Nazi. And then they'll turn right around. And they'll be like, oh, this ethno-state? That's my ethno-state. And you're hurting my feelings if you tell me that I can't have it. It's my trauma response.
And herein lies exactly the double standard. When we talk about the pain and trauma of some groups of people, that gets ignored. It gets ignored by the same politicians who tend to ignore the kinds of people who listen to Hasan Piker Twitch stream every single day. I'm trying to have a conversation with everybody. I was proud last Saturday to spend my Saturday morning in Jewish prayer services. I was invited in, and I was so grateful to get to share space.
Democrats in 2028 don't look like they'll be taking money from AIPAC, but they still are, and they're still following AIPAC's orders. Like McMorrow is taking is getting the official endorsement of J Street, but she's also being endorsed quietly by AIPAC. So if J Street is basically just the acceptable rubber stamp for AIPAC's approval, they're still kind of taking orders from AIPAC.
At the end of the day, I think it is absolutely critical for us to understand that pain begets pain. And the only way that we heal pain is by going and addressing the circumstances that cause it. That's what I'm trying to do. And then all of this seems completely separated from the foundational issues that people are feeling pain on across our state.
The craziest thing, too, is that, like, I have not seen everyone says Abdul is anti-Semitic, Hasan is anti-Semitic. They never link anything. They're never like, here's what he said that's anti-Semitic, you know? It's all fake hysteria. They can't prove it. They can't substantiate it in any way, shape, or form, you know? I will never believe an anti-Semitism accusation unless I'm given some kind of proof supplying it. That's how badly it's been abused, you know? It's like, you know, I don't think it's impossible for people to be anti-white. But if I see somebody saying, oh, so-and-so is anti-white, you better give me some fucking receipts because that shit has been abused quite a bit, you know? It's been insanely, it gives you reason to distrust everything, which is, you know, exactly what, Zionists want, because that kind of propagates, if not anti-Semitism, at the very least skepticism towards the legitimacy of anti-Semitism, you know? The more the ADL deliberately confounds statistics and makes it seem like this is a bigger problem than it is, which is their job, you know, they're given money to do that, the harder it is to actually, like, determine the extent to which Jewish people are subjected to hate crimes. Are they? Yes, of course they are. How much are they? We have no fucking idea because of the ADL and other organizations like them.
Everywhere I go, people tell me about the fact that they cannot afford anything as simple as gas. They can't afford their rent. They can't afford their groceries. And they certainly can't afford healthcare. I'm trying to have conversations about how we unlock our current system, take money out of politics through corporate bribery, how we address the fact that we need to put more money back in people's pockets by standing with unions and small businesses, and finally guaranteeing every single person healthcare through Medicare for all. Those are the conversations I'm having with people, whether they are in town halls in places like Ishpeming, on Twitch with people like Hasan, or in churches in places like Detroit. And those are the conversations I think we need to be focused on.
Neat. McMorrow's got to turn into another goddamn Fetterman. Fetterman has had an over 100-point shift to the negative in terms of Democratic favorability, because literally all he does is salivate over Jewish-Israeli war crimes. It's disgusting, and we're going to have another one. You mean Slotkin? No, I mean Fetterman. Slotkin was not as obsessed with Israel as Fetterman. Was it the stroke? Maybe. Ethan Wolfe. Completely normal Democratic position to 100% disavow Hasan Piker. It's fringe and extreme to support him no matter what you see on Twitter. This guy was a Fetterman bit, right? This is why you shouldn't call Ukraine a Zionist state. This is what it leads to. I caused this? That's crazy. Egyptian transgender Yusuf Morsi set fire to a Ukrainian drone factory in the Czech Republic because of the factory's connections to the Zionist colonial state of Israel. I mean, depending on their connections, okay. I don't know about the connections, so I can't really make any claims about it. But what do you want me to? Are you transphobic? Are you saying that you don't support her actions? God forbid a girl have hobbies.